Welcome to XOTIC PC's video review, and today what we're doing is a graphics card comparison. We're going to be comparing the 7970M from AMD to the new NVIDIA GTX 680M. Now, what you see in front of you is the Sager NP9150. It is a 15.6-inch laptop from Sager, built on a Clevo, and it is pretty much their top-selling laptop. Now, on this 9150, you have a couple of different graphics card upgrade options, one of which is the 7970M, which we featured in our last graphics card comparison video. But now, Sager is giving you the option to get the new GTX 680M, and that is in the laptop on the right there. And we're going to be doing some fun things with you today, showing you these graphics cards. The first thing we'll do is we'll actually show you the specs of each system so you know what our test models have in them. We'll also be going over the specs of each graphics cards so you can compare those as well. We'll be doing some 3D Mark Vantage and 3D Mark 11 benchmark scores, and we'll also be overclocking each graphics card. We'll then go into temperatures on each graphics card, battery life, power efficiency, then we'll go over the price, what gets you the most bang for your buck, the most valuable graphics card in our opinion. And then finally, to wrap up the video, we'll be showing you some Battlefield 3 multiplayer on each system and comparing them side by side with things like frames per second and some other different things. So we thank you for joining us today. We're pretty excited to give you this graphics card comparison video review. It is the second one that we've done, and we've taken a lot of your helpful hints and questions from the first graphics review that we did and included them in this video. So again, we thank you for joining us today, and we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, the first thing we're going to do for you is show you the specs of our test models here. Now again, this is the Sager NP9150. It is Sager's flagship 15.6-inch gaming laptop. It's built on a Clevo, and in our opinion, it's probably the most popular gaming laptop that's really out there right now, especially with the online gaming community. As far as mobile gaming goes, this is definitely one of the most popular machines out there. Going down the specs, the model on the left, it is a 15.6-inch Full HD matte screen. The model on the right is the same size, just glossy. For the CPU, we've upgraded to a 3720 quad mobile 3rd generation Ivy Bridge processor. Now on these 9150s, it normally just comes stock with a 3610, but we wanted to put a little bit more horsepower in there, if you will, and see what these things can really do. For RAM, we have 16 gigabytes, 1600 megahertz RAM in both systems, identical. Stock, the 9150 just comes with 8 gigabytes, 1600 megahertz RAM. We put a little bit more boost in there. For the hard drives, we did go with an Intel 120 gigabyte 520 series SSD in there, again for added performance. And then for the optical drive, we just have the stock DVD-CD combo optical drive in there. Now again, you can see the noticeable differences, of course. The GPU, this is a GPU comparison video. On the left, that Sager NP9150 does have that AMD Radeon HD 7970M in it. And then the computer on your right, another 9150, has the NVIDIA GeForce GTX 680M in it. Okay, before we get too deep into the graphics card comparison, as far as benchmarks and temperatures and different things like that go, we'll just show you the basic information of each graphics card. Now, the 7970M on your left there comes with 2 gigabytes of video RAM. Its architecture is a GCN architecture. Both have 28nm lithography. The core clock on the 7970M is 850 megahertz. Memory clock is 1200 megahertz, and this does have a memory interface of 256-bit. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that, most of you probably know this, some of you might not know this, but the 7970M mobile graphics card isn't directly comparable to the 7970 desktop graphics card. It's more comparable to the 7870 desktop graphics card. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Now on the right, you do have that NVIDIA GTX 680M. It comes with 4 gigabytes of video RAM, and this is more comparable to the desktop GTX 670. So just because it's the mobile version of the 680 doesn't mean its specifications are the same as the desktop 680. So keep that in mind as well. Running down the specs, this is the Kepler architecture. The orthography is the same on both. The core clock is a little bit lower on the 680 at 720 megahertz. The memory clock, however, is much higher by almost 30% at 1800 megahertz. And then again, the memory interface is the same on both. Now, one thing I will point out is the price difference. And we will go over this more later in the review, but when you're on the Sager NP9150 and you want to upgrade to either of these graphics cards, the upgrade cost is half the price on the 7970M. So the 7970M is a cheaper graphics card, but again, we'll go over this more later in the review. Okay, the next thing that we're going to be going over with you is battery life. Now, battery life is obviously important in mobile gaming with laptops, and what we did is we ran the classic battery eater test. Now, the laptop on your left, again, is that 9150 with the 7970M graphics card in it. And for battery runtime, we got 56 minutes. And on the GTX 680M on your right, we got an hour and 40 minutes. Now, here's what we did for our battery test. We obviously unplugged them, of course, to run on battery. We went in and we adjusted the brightness to 100%, and then we disabled all of the power saving options that you can do. So the screen never dimmed, we disabled that. When the computer goes to sleep, we disabled that, etc., etc. Now, some things to point out. The 7970M does have that Enduro from AMD power saving option, which is okay. But in my opinion, the NVIDIA Optimus technology on the GTX 680 on your right, it does a much better job of saving on battery. Now, here's some things to consider when buying a graphics card. Now, the 680M on the right, which did have almost double the battery time, it clocks down to 135 megahertz core clock and 324 megahertz memory clock. Now, the 7970M, the core clock did clock down to 450 megahertz, but the memory clock stayed the same at 1200 megahertz. So those are some things just to keep in mind with battery. Now, again, those battery test scores, 56 minutes on the 7970M and then an hour and 40 minutes on the 680. So if battery is important to you, in my opinion, I definitely go with the 680 on the right. Okay, the next segment here in this graphics card comparison, we're going to be talking about the benchmark scores. Now, this is 3D Mark 11, and the 3D Mark 11 score that you're looking at here on your left is going to be that 7970M in it. Now, it got a score of 5787, which is a great score for 3D Mark 11 with this 7970M. But looking at the 680, we topped 6,000 points in 3D Mark 11, which is a great score. Now, what we'll do is we'll pull up a 3D Mark Vantage score of each. Now, keep in mind, again, these are just stock scores that you're seeing. Now here, again, this is that 7970M 3D Mark Vantage. We're seeing 20,000 points. And then on the 680, we're seeing just over 25,000 points, which in my opinion is just an insane score. Now, we've started doing some laptop video reviews that have featured like the 7970M in it, but the fact that the 680M graphics card as a stock score is reaching 25,000 points is to me insane. If you watch our other video review that we've done on the Alienware M18X, where we had dual 7970M graphics cards in it, we were seeing a stock score, if I recall correctly, around 26,000 points. So comparing an Alienware M18X with dual 7970M graphics cards in it compared to a Sager NP9150 with a 680M in it, you're seeing very comparable scores. Now, given those are different laptops, different sizes, other components were also different. That Alienware M18X only had 6 gigabytes of RAM. It only had the 3610 quad mobile in it. This, again, has that 3720 in it. So, you know, it's not a complete, accurate side-by-side comparison, but seeing a score of 25,000 points from a single graphics card, again, is that 680M from NVIDIA, to me is just phenomenal. Okay, the next thing that we'll just show you really quick is temperatures. Now we have the CPU ID, and you can see the overall temperature. Now this again is that 9150, and this has the 7970M in it. And the overall temperature got to 84 degrees Celsius. And looking at the 680M, we're seeing the overall temperature at 89 degrees Celsius. Now these were just on stock runs, and here in just a minute we'll show you screenshots of overclocks scores for both the 7970M and the 680. But as you can see, the overall laptop temperature with the 680 runs another 5 degrees Celsius warmer. So you're hitting, just around 190 degrees Fahrenheit with the 680M compared to the 7970M. Your core temperature is only reaching about 180 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's, just wanted to point that out a little bit, that the 680 is going to run hotter than the 7970M. And next, popping up on your screen here will be some 3D Mark 11 and 3D Mark Vantage screenshots that we've just showed you here of the stock scores on both benchmark programs as well as overclock scores. So we'll go ahead and let you take a peek at those really quick. Okay, one of the last things that we'll talk about is price. Now, we discussed this a little bit in the beginning of the video review. Now, the upgrade price on these Sager NP9150s, for the 7970M, it's going to be a $200 upgrade right now. We could see that drop in price. And for the 680 upgrade on the Sager NP9150 is going to be almost $500. So it's well over double the price for the 680. Now, another thing to look at, one of the other models that we offer that you can upgrade to these graphics cards is the Alienware M18X. Now, if you look at our website, which is exoticpc.com, and you go to the Alienware M18X, you'll see that you can actually get dual 7970M graphics cards for the same price as the NVIDIA GTX 680. So that's one thing to keep in mind, is price. Now, in my honest opinion, the NVIDIA GTX 680 is a slightly superior graphics card than the 7970M, but it's a matter of, do you want to pay that much more, especially on these Sager NP9150s. So I think for graphics cards, if you are looking to save money, definitely go with the 7970M. It's a phenomenal graphics card. The 680, my only gripe, and the thing that I would like to see NVIDIA do, is drop the price. And from everybody we've talked to, that's been their sort of biggest gripe. See NVIDIA drop the price down $150, $200, so it's at least in the ballpark of the 7970M. Now, another thing also to keep in mind is that the AMD 7970M came out, I believe, 3 or 4 months before the 680. So, when you're talking about technology, especially computer technology, and you're looking at release dates, that big a gap in release dates, to me, is sort of a buster, if you will. I would have went with the 7970M right when it came out versus waiting 3 or 4 months for the 680. So that's another thing to consider. I wish NVIDIA's release schedule was the same as AMD's. So both these graphics cards would have came out at the same time. And I actually think that if that happened, the 680 would not be getting as big a positive response as it is. NVIDIA waited 3 or 4 months, and they're able to sell it for, 1.5 times the price of AMD's graphics card. So that's just my little rant really quick. Again, I wish both graphics cards came out at the same time. Unfortunately, they did not. And I like to see NVIDIA drop the price. $500 for a graphics card, in my opinion, is a good chunk of change. That's 2 solid-state drives. That's, a bunch of other options that you could add to your computer. So, if you're on a budget, go with the 7970M. Okay, as you can see, the next thing that we're going to be showing you here is some live Battlefield 3 multiplayer. and this is actually just the launch screen for the campaign, but we're going to be showing you some multiplayer. So before we get to that, we want to just thank you for joining us today on this video graphics card comparison review of the 7970M compared to the GTX 680, and we'll go ahead and show you some pretty cool Battlefield 3 multiplayer.
Here's the med kit, alright, dude? Objective neutralized. Enemy machine gunner spotted in your AO. Enemy machine gunner spotted in your AO. The objective has been secured. I repeat, the objective has been secured. Come and get your med kit. Thank you. We've spotted an enemy sniper in your area. Go! 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 Move! 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 We have lost the objective. I repeat, we have lost the objective. Надо цель атаковать! Вперед к цели!
Okay, so those were some Battlefield 3 clips on both GPUs. We know they weren't very long clips. We wanted to try to keep this graphics card comparison video as short as possible. However, be on the lookout in the next week or so here for some more full-length gameplay of Battlefield 3 on both graphics cards. Just quickly, to recap, do an overview of both graphics cards. GPU specs, we feel that the 680 wins because it has more video RAM, it has more shader units. Looking at the benchmark overview, we again think that the 680 wins in this category. It has a much higher 3D Mark Vantage and 3D Mark 11 benchmark scores. Battery life, again 680 we feel wins this one. because it had nearly double the battery life compared to the 7970M. Temperature 7970M was 5 degrees Celsius cooler, so it definitely wins that category. Power efficiency, we're going to go with the 680M on this one, mainly because the memory clock did idle down. The 7970M, the memory clock stayed the same. Price, 7970 wins hands down. If we see the price of the 680 drop, we're definitely going to pick the 680 as our overall winner because it is a more powerful graphics card. However, the almost $300 price markup to us isn't really a right price for the graphics card compared to the 7970M. And then finally, the Battlefield 3 multiplayer that you briefly saw there. We're going to go with the 7970M because it had about 6 frames per second more average than the 680. So that's just a rundown. We don't really have a clear favorite here. We're going to go with the 7970M today because mainly the price. If we see the 680 drop in price, which we hope that it does, we're definitely going to pick that as our graphics card winner because it is a more powerful card. Again, thank you for watching this graphics card comparison today. Go to our website, exoticpc.com, that's XOTIC PC.com, and check out the 9150 or the 9170 with both of these graphics card options. And again, as always, leave any comments or questions that you have below in our YouTube comments box. Thank you again for watching, and we will see you in the next review.